The Rise of Ockay and His Revenge of Chaos. In the dim moonlight, amidst the eerie silence of the graveyard, the dark witch crept stealthily among the crumbling tombstones, her tattered cloak billowing behind her. With a sinister glint in her eyes, she approached the decrepit grave of Ockay, the infamous hellhound of legend. Whispering incantations of ancient and forbidden magic, the witch summoned forth dark energies from the depths of the underworld. The earth trembled and cracked as tendrils of black mist coiled around Ockay's resting place, drawing the creature's essence back from the abyss. With a violent eruption of soil and stone, Ockay emerged from his grave, his fur matted with decay and his eyes burning with unholy fire. The witch cackled with glee as she beheld her creation, a fearsome beast of pure malevolence. Now unleashed upon the world once more, Ockay wasted no time in wreaking havoc upon the unsuspecting village nearby, killing every civilian. With savage ferocity, he prowled the streets, his claws rending flesh and his fangs dripping with blood. The villagers cowered in terror as Ockay unleashed his wrath upon them. His cruelty and brutality know no bounds. Houses were torn asunder, and screams echoed through the night as the hellhound's reign of terror continued unchecked. But amidst the chaos, a brave few dared to stand against the monstrous beast. Led by a valiant band of warriors and sorcerers, they confronted Ockay in a desperate bid to save their home from destruction. A fierce battle ensued, with spells and steel clashing against the unholy might of Ockay. But in the end, it was the combined strength and courage of the villagers that proved victorious. With a final roar of defiance, Ockay was driven back into the depths of the earth, his malevolent spirit banished once more. As dawn broke over the horizon, the village lay in ruins, scarred by the devastation wrought by the hellhound's rampage. But amidst the rubble, there burned a flicker of hope, the indomitable spirit of humanity, resilient in the face of darkness, ready to rebuild and rise anew. Chap 2. As the moon cast its eerie glow through the dense canopy of the forest, Ockay prowled silently among the shadows, his form blending seamlessly with the darkness around him. In the distance, he spotted a flickering campfire, the telltale sign of unsuspecting prey. With a feral grin spreading across his monstrous visage, Ockay crept closer, his senses heightened with anticipation. As he drew near, he could hear the faint sounds of laughter and conversation, the scent of fear mingling with the crisp night air. With a sudden burst of savage ferocity, Ockay launched himself into the midst of the camp, his claws slashing through tents and flesh alike. Panic erupted as the campers scrambled to defend themselves, but it was futile against the unstoppable force of the hellhound. With each swipe of his razor-sharp claws and each bite of his dripping fangs, Ockay unleashed terror and brutality upon the hapless victims. Blood sprayed across the forest floor as screams echoed through the night, a symphony of agony that fueled Ockay's insatiable hunger for carnage. But as quickly as he had descended upon them, Ockay vanished back into the darkness, leaving behind a scene of devastation and despair. The survivors huddled together in shock and disbelief, their once idyllic camping trip transformed into a nightmare beyond imagining. Meanwhile, deep within the heart of the forest, the dark witch awaited Ockay's return with a wicked grin upon her twisted lips. For she knew that with each act of violence, her hellhound grew stronger, his thirst for vengeance against the anti-law and Danesmee burning ever brighter. And as Ockay slunk back into the shadows, to be replenished with the dark magic of the witch's lair, he knew that his reign of terror had only just begun. For in his veins flowed the blood of countless victims, each drop a testament to the merciless power of the hellhound known as Ockay. Chap 3. Good Ending. As Ockay's monstrous form emerged from the shadows, his eyes fixated hungrily on Danesmee, who stood defiantly beside the anti-law. With a guttural growl, Ockay lunged forward, his massive jaws snapping shut around her slender form, and swallowed the beautiful small girl Danesmee whole down into his stomach, ready to absorb her beauty and grow stronger. But the anti-law refused to stand idly by as his beloved companion was consumed before his eyes. With a primal roar of rage, he charged at Ockay, his sword gleaming in the moonlight as he delivered blow after punishing blow to the hellhound's armored hide. Their battle raged on with brutal intensity, the clash of steel against flesh echoing through the forest as Ockay and the anti-law fought tooth and nail for supremacy. The witch, sensing the tide of the battle turning against her, fled into the darkness, leaving her hellhound to fend for himself. Despite Ockay's ferocious strength and relentless onslaught, the anti-law refused to yield, drawing upon reserves of courage and determination he never knew he possessed. With a final, desperate strike, he drove his sword deep into Ockay's chest, the hellhound's anguished howls reverberating through the night with blood spilling everywhere. As Ockay staggered back, mortally wounded and gushing blood, the anti-law seized the opportunity to free Danesmee from his grasp, tearing her from the hellhound's gullet with a mixture of blood, saliva, intestines, and horror and relief. With one final defiant snarl, Ockay collapsed to the ground, his monstrous form crumbling into dust. With the threat of Ockay vanquished, the anti-law and Danesmee embraced, their hearts heavy with the weight of the battle they had just endured. But as they turned away from the scene of carnage, a sense of peace washed over them, knowing that they had emerged victorious against the forces of darkness. And together, they walked away from the forest, united in their triumph and their love for one another. Bad Ending Chap 3. In the darkness of Ockay's cavernous stomach, Danesmee found herself enveloped in an abyss of churning darkness. The acidic stench of the hellhound's digestive juices filled her senses, threatening to overwhelm her with their noxious intensity. With each passing moment, she could feel herself being slowly dissolved by the corrosive acids, her flesh and bones gradually breaking down into nothingness. As she struggled to maintain her sanity amidst the suffocating darkness, Danesmee's thoughts turned to the anti-law, her heart heavy with sorrow at the thought of leaving him behind. But even as despair threatened to consume her, a flicker of determination ignited within her soul, driving her to fight against the encroaching darkness with every ounce of her being. Meanwhile, above ground, the anti-law faced off against Ockay in a battle of titanic proportions. With every swing of his sword and every burst of dark energy, he fought with a ferocity born of desperation, his every movement a testament to his unwavering resolve to protect the world from the hellhound's malevolent influence. But despite his best efforts, the anti-law found himself outmatched by Ockay's overwhelming power. With a mighty roar, the hellhound unleashed a devastating onslaught of claws and teeth, overwhelming the anti-law with sheer brute force. In a final, desperate bid for victory, the anti-law launched himself at Ockay with all the strength he could muster, only to be struck down by a single, devastating blow. As the anti-law lay broken and defeated, bloodied, and death awaits at Ockay's feet, the hellhound turned his attention to Danesmee's remains, his eyes gleaming with triumph as he prepared to dispose of her once and for all. With a guttural snarl, he devoured her broken form, the last traces of her existence disappearing into the darkness of his monstrous belly and through his intestines. With Danesmee's fate sealed, Ockay looks for a place in the dark forest and poops out Danesmee's remains, squatting over a log with this thick turd, with Danesmee's bones and smelly brown meat coming out. Ockay's anus, Ockay, and the Dark Witch embarked on their quest to conquer the world, unleashing untold horrors upon the earth and plunging humanity into a new age of darkness and despair. As Ockay took his place upon a throne of bones and the trophy of Danesmee's vampiric skull, his reign of terror began in earnest, his savage roar echoing through the twisted landscape as the witch's maniacal laughter filled the air. And as flames licked at the sky and demons prowled the streets, the world trembled beneath the weight of their tyranny, powerless to resist the unstoppable tide of darkness that threatened to consume everything in its path.